Welcome back. I'm Jim Sciutto in Washington. With much of the world's focus on the newly ignited conflict between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza, the militant group on a violent march through Iraq has been making major gains. Here on the so-called triangle border shared by Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, fighters from that group that calls itself ISIS posted a message today claiming that they reached that crucial three-way border and, very importantly, say they now control Iraq's biggest hydroelectric dam. Our military analyst Rick Francona is here, so is our national security analyst Bob Baer. Rick, if I could start with you. First, let's start with the gains inside Iraq, because they've been significant from ISIS in the last 24, 48 hours, capturing this dam, which supplies most of the electricity to Mosul, but also pushing back some of the Kurdish fighters who'd been having the most success, really, against ISIS in creating this one oasis of security in the north of Iraq. How significant are these gains, and what does it show about ISIS's strength inside Iraq?
Well, we thought that ISIS would start losing strength, and just the opposite is happening. They're gaining strength. People are siding with them now. And I think it's a temporary thing, but we're seeing them grow in strength. They've taken the dam in Mosul. They're moving on the dam in Haditha. And they've set up the trappings of a state. I mean, they're starting to issue license plates, and they actually believe that this is now a country. And this is dangerous, because what they do inside that state is going to have a big effect on how we have to deal with this threat. And I think it's going to be a threat in the future. So I don't see them any signs of stopping right now. They're continuing to move. Why they're going after their Kurds is a little puzzling. It's a fight they don't need.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, and just to remind our viewers, this is happening as you have several hundred U.S. military advisors on the ground now in Iraq, the first steps of U.S. aid to help the Iraqi forces respond. Bob, I want to bring you in, because the other thing that's happening with ISIS is gains outside of Iraq. I mean, you have them now up to the border with Turkey. That's a U.S. ally, a NATO member. You have Saudi Arabia deploying some 30,000 extra troops along its border to keep ISIS at bay. And then you had some fighters from Syria bleed into Lebanon today in another attack. I mean, ISIS is becoming, it's already, straddles two countries, Syria and Iraq, but this is becoming a true regional threat, isn't it?
Well, Jim, I will be alarmist. I used to get paid to do that, and I will right now. But taking this dam at Mosul is very disturbing, because if they let the water out, and they're capable of doing this, it would flood numerous Shia cities in the south, Karbala, Najaf, and the rest of them. And as Rick said, that they're beating the Kurds, frankly, surprised me. This happened at Sinjar. It's a major point for the Kurds. And the fact they defeated and turned them back is, these guys are on the move. And people I talk to in Mosul say they are starting to move assets toward Baghdad airport, that they're within the 16-kilometer cone where they can get at airplanes with surface-to-air missiles. Now, this is all, sort of iffy, the intelligence, but it's what we have here is an al-Qaeda state that exists, in fact, and they are acting like a state, and they are posing a threat to the entire region. Issuing license plates. Rick Francona, has the U.S. response so far been up to it?
Okay. Well, we've kind of, I think we're not really paying much attention over there. Our focus, as you said, has been riveted on what's going on in Gaza. And 300 people on the ground, they issued their initial assessment, and it was not good. The Iraqi army is not capable of conducting these operations, and you see what's happening every time they meet ISIS. They go back and forth, and with the firepower that the Iraqi army can bring to bear and the air power, and they're still not able to dislodge these guys, this is a disaster, and it's going to get worse as they move further south. They're coming down the Tigris Valley. They've pretty much taken Tikrit. There's still some fighting there, but now they're moving on Samarra, and that will galvanize the Shia. That's a holy city for the Shia. And they seem to be intent on getting down there. As Bob said, if they go after the airport, and they're moving south of it already, they're not stopping. It's amazing to me how fast they're able to move and how effective these guys can be.
Bob, we've talked a lot in a number of segments today about just the incredible divisions in the region right now, all the competing interests, whether we're talking about Israel and Gaza or the crisis in Syria and Iraq. When you have ISIS threatening such a broad variety of countries who are frankly scared by it, whether it's Turkey or Iraq or Syria or the Saudis or the Jordanians, could ISIS be the threat that unifies these various countries in the region to push back in some way, or are they just too divided to even conceive of that?
Well, Jim, this is what have the Saudis scared, of course, is that ISIS will succeed in Iraq, will set up a state. They've already not only license plates, but they've also lowered the price of food. They've shown themselves to be a more effective state than Maliki's Iraq. And if they succeed there, it will be a model for the Gulf Arabs, a populist movement. Again, ISIS is the most radical end of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood exists in Saudi Arabia and the UAE and the rest of the Gulf. And this will be encouragement to them, and this is what have the Arab regimes truly terrified at this point, and that's why they're moving troops.
It's really hard
the future is wide open.
For sure. It's really hard to overstate the danger there. Thanks very much to Rick Francona and Bob Baer bringing us up to date on Iraq.